I'm making a video about presumptive claims that you can claim if you were exposed to Agent Orange. These are from the PACT Act and are really important for our vets that served in Vietnam. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through some of these conditions. I'm going to show you where it's at on the VA's website. I'll leave a link to this in the description down below so that you can easily find it. And I'll also go over the presumptive criteria so that if you were, serving during this time at some of these locations, you can put in a claim for this and get compensation that you deserve for this condition. First off, a presumptive condition is essentially something that the VA says if you have this condition and you serve during this time period at this location, you don't necessarily need to prove that the condition was caused by your service. And this is really good, especially for folks that served back during Vietnam, because you've been out for so long. So this takes away that, that requirement to submit a bunch of medical evidence. You really are just going to need to show that you were there and just meet all the criteria, and I'll go through that towards the end. So these can essentially be, and I hate to say easy, but much easier than some of the other conditions. And there's a list here of cancers caused by Agent Orange exposure. I'll read a few: bladder cancer, Hodgkin's disease, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, prostate cancer, respiratory cancers, including lung cancer, and others as well. And then go down the line here to some other illnesses that are presumptive from Agent Orange exposure. Diabetes, high blood pressure, ischemic heart disease, which essentially I think is a stroke. MGUS, not sure what that is, but it's on there. Parkinson's disease. And it also has a caveat here that if you have a cancer illness that's not on the list of presumptive conditions, but if you think that it was caused by Agent Orange exposure, you can still file a claim for it. I highly recommend getting with a VSO or an accredited agent. I'm sure there's going to be some sort of evidence that you're going to have to submit to help prove that claim. But they can probably help you with that. So now we're going to jump down to some of the criteria, and I'll go through this, and like I said, I'll leave a link so that you can really dive in here, because you're going to need to show proof that you were in these locations during this time frame. So between January 9th, 1962 and May 7th of 75, you must have served for any length of time in at least one of these locations. And as you can see, it's either in Vietnam or aboard a U.S. military vessel that operated in the inland waterways of Vietnam, or on a vessel operating not more than 12 nautical miles seaward from the demarcation line of the waters of Vietnam and Cambodia. Or you must have served in at least one of these locations that have been added based on the PACT Act. And there's a whole list of them. Any U.S. or Royal Thai military base in Thailand from January 9th, 1962 through June 1976, or Laos from December 65 through September 30th, 1969, or Cambodia at one of those locations from April 69 through the end of April 69. It looks like you only get 15 days on that one. Or Guam or American Samoa, or in the territorial waters off of Guam or American Samoa from January 62 to July 1980. Or Johnston Atoll, or on a ship that called at Johnston Atoll from January 72 all the way up until September of 1977. And then and there's a lot of different potential options here, or at least one of these must be true for you. You served in or near the Korean DMZ for any length of time between September 67 to August 1971, or you served in an Air Force unit location where a C-123 aircraft with traces of Agent Orange was assigned, and had repeated contact with this aircraft due to your flight, ground, or medical duties. Or you were involved in transporting, testing, storing, or other uses of Agent Orange during your military service. So, like with some of these, or with really any presumptive claim, you're going to need to show medical evidence showing that you meet that criteria. So, like your DD Form 214 might be helpful in this. But, if it doesn't exactly mark, these locations, you might have to provide additional documentation, potentially just a personal statement explaining that you were there, maybe photographs, a buddy letter, maybe, I don't know, maybe you receive mail there and you still have that envelope. So you just kind of, you got to find something that will be able to attest to the fact that you were in one of these various locations. There's quite a few. And like I said, I'm going to put the link to this so that you'll have it handy so you can take a look and read it. But if you have one of these conditions, if you have the cancers that I mentioned above, and you served in this, and you qualify for the presumptive, this is a presumptive condition, please go see a VSO and submit the evidence you need to get this claim won as a presumptive condition, so that you can, number one, get the compensation that you're supposed to get, and get additional health care for your condition.